I found an 800-page C++ book. Start a friend's career by being short.
Hey guys, today I'm here with... Who are you?
I'm tickMark, I'm 15 and I make video games in my free time. How long should a game project really take? If you want a quick answer, your average game project should take 2 weeks. But if you want a more detailed explanation, because not all games are the same, watch the video to find out.
First of all, why did you even start game dev?
In elementary school and middle school, we had the library. In elementary school, the school librarian was a very nice guy and he showed us Scratch. There was like this afternoon activity. We just made animations and games in Scratch and they were really crappy games, but those were my first video games and I'm so sad I don't know that account anymore, so I don't have those games anymore. And after that, in middle school and high school, I started to think and my parents started to ask like, what will I be when I grow up? I wanted to be a programmer. I wanted to learn C++. I found an 800-page C++ book called Thinking in C++. I asked my mother to print it for me.
To print a 800-page book?
Yeah, because it's good for your eyes.
Like people worry about plastic in the ocean and meanwhile there's just some guy in Hungary printing an 800-page
book. I didn't even end up reading it. I didn't read it like very thoroughly. I just kind of glossed over it. It was so boring. So it got boring, so I decided to make a video game. And in that time I got introduced to like a new friend group. That was the time I moved schools. There was this kid called Yanchi who was memed about constantly because he's kind of dumb and he's kind of short, but also he's kind of smart and he was taking the jokes, right? He wasn't upset about us memeing him. And I thought about, I don't know how, but I thought about making a video game about him where he was beaten by his little brother. So this is how I started game development. And that project turned into a 5-month project because I just couldn't put it down. It was so funny. So it was a funny joke.
So your game dev career started as a joke?
Yes, and it grew into a serious passion now.
What kind of games have you made?
Yanchi, my first video game. By the way, this on all the tiles and all the clouds, this is the actual face of Yanchi. Kind of compressed.
Oh my god.
Most people actually don't notice it at first, that there's a face staring at them from every single block. What I learned from this game is that you shouldn't make long game projects. Like this is just a 6th level game. This seems like it didn't take a lot of time, but it actually took very much time because just bare C++. I could create this in Unity in like 3 to 4 days. But the first thing I learned is don't try to be cool and use a game engine. If your plan is to create a free game, don't make your projects more than 1 month long. So 1 month is the absolute maximum.
You wanted to make a fun game about a kid at your school and then it took you 5 months.
There were always bugs and always things I could improve.
It must be also funny to like start a friend's career by being short.
Yes! Start a friend's career by being short. This was my first game made in Unity. It's my first 3D game and it's about balancing this golden ball on the platform. These obstacles constantly change space. My friends tested it constantly, so to make it just right, the difficulty as well. I also took more time on the music and the graphical side, and that I think is really important. Once you have a good gameplay, I playtested it with my friends for like 1 week. Also I playtested it a lot myself. After that, it was like the second week was just graphics. It wasn't hard to boost it graphically, but I took a lot of time to make the music and the sound effects as good feeling as possible, and that's also important. We are back to the 2-week answer. It should take 2 weeks to create your game project. 1 week for the game mechanics and 1 week for everything else. The polishing, advertisement, everything.
So you actually also made the music yourself?
Yes, because I can.
Which programming language or engine is your favorite and why?
So now it's Unity. It just takes less time to create things with Unity because after you laid out your main game objects and borrowed a few scripts from Stack Overflow, it's a really fast way to create games.
Especially because there are like a lot of forums, Discord servers, YouTube tutorials, just a lot of people that can help you.
Yes, Unity has the biggest user base.
What is the hardest part of game dev for you?
The most difficult part is actually to work on your project every day. You just kind of, get lazy after a few days. This is also why you don't make your projects very long, because you get lazy. And after that you just work maybe 1 time a week, like one time every 2 weeks, annoyed with the game and the bugs. It's also planning to fit in the time period. I always create too ambitious plans that I can never finish.
And what is your favorite part of game dev?
My favorite part of game dev, it has to be the part where you finish a game and people like it.
What would you recommend to people who want to start programming or game dev? If someone would like at your school would just come to you and say, "Hey, I want to make games. What should I do?" What would you say?
I would say to them like, do you have a computer? What operating system do you use? Then I would recommend a game engine, or basically let them choose their own game engine, but kind of imply that Unity is the best. You can choose your own game engine, but if you don't choose Unity, I won't work with you. And then just let them off with some 10-minute tutorials, and then in a couple days, if their eyes are still shining, they didn't get burnt out, then they are ready for game development.
Okay, so thank you for the interview.
Yo, thank you for having me here. It was obviously great. I have a great time. You could tell by my laughs.